I just want to pay my respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on today and extend that respect to their elders, both past and present. Hello everyone, my name's Kate McAlister and I'm an engagement manager at Acquia. And thank you very much for having me here today. I was really excited when this session was accepted, and then when I realised it was on at the same time as Don and Benjamin's talk, I was like, damn, I really wanted to go and see that. So I'm going to have to watch it back on video later. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Acquia was actually started by the founder of Drupal, Dries Breitart, and he still has a really active role in Acquia as the CTO, and is doing a lot of the guiding of the new development of products there. He recently published an article in the Mandarin about the reverse web, where he talks about reverse web for government, and it's worth a read if you can check it out. The reverse web is about how to create relevant and meaningful experiences and serving them up to users, rather than searching through the intricate and expansive layers of the web, pulling out what we need or want. We can just have the information specific to our individual needs pushed out to us directly. So yeah, I'd definitely go and check out that article. It goes into it in a bit more detail. So Acquia, a little bit more about Acquia, has a range of products and services all built on Drupal, and that includes premium cloud web hosting services. In Australia, we've been partnering with the Department of Finance to develop GovCMS, which is a Drupal distribution built by government for government. And Drupal and government have a really solid foundation and history, with the exemplar being the whitehouse.gov website, but there are many, many, many examples of Drupal sites in government all over the world being chosen for its scalability, open source standards, and security. So, yeah, how to eat an Agile sandwich. Yes, it's nice to join you here for the after lunch slump. And unfortunately, no, this isn't where all of the leftover sandwiches have come, so there's no free sandwiches here. But yes, I'm sure we're right before afternoon tea, and I know that we're running into time, so I'm going to have to get through this a little bit quicker than I thought. And also, I just wanted to say this talk could easily have been called Making the Perfect Sandwich, but I wanted to keep in the realms of possibility here. And just let you know as well, as a project manager, I have more experience with the social side of development, so this will not be a technical talk. I just want to put that caveat here now. So Agile, what is Agile? And why would I build my digital experience this way? And what does it have to do with sandwiches? Choosing to use Agile methodologies as part of your product development process can be an exciting time, but the main reason for it would be flexibility. There are many meanings and representations of what Agile is, so choosing this path can be confronting and confusing time. So the way I see it is we all know how to make a sandwich, but we all have different opinions about how to make the sandwich. So for this talk, I want to go right back to basics and introduce a few key terms and hopefully start up a conversation around what Agile is and have a bit of fun along the way. I just want to throw it out there. Does anyone have any questions right now? No. Okay. Save them. I'll come back later. Now, can I see a show of hands? How many people here have made a sandwich? Excellent. And how many of you have made an Agile sandwich? Well, maybe. It's true that inherently you may or may not have, but unless you've made it in a consciously Agile way, it's hard to know what components of that process were Agile. So what does Agile mean? Agile has been a buzzword that's been thrown around in government and around best practice approaches for project management, especially in IT, for quite some time now. As I said, it was introduced into IT departments a while back, but now it's slowly expanding into other areas. Just like in private sector, it's expanding into other areas of business. But are these practices or methodologies for projects truly Agile or just Agile-like? What's the difference and why does it matter? So in the adjective or dictionary sense, Agile means to be quick and well coordinated in movement, lifelike, to be active and lively. to be marked by an ability to think quickly, to be mentally acute or aware. The current Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, as Communications Minister, prior to being voted leader of the coalition, said, "Our values of free enterprise, of individual initiative, of freedom, this is what you need to be a successful agile economy in 2015. And then once the Prime Minister, he stated, and I'm just going to do an excerpt here, "The Australia of the future has to be a nation that is agile, that is innovative, that is creative." He goes on to say, "We have to recognise that the disruption that we see driven by technology, the volatility in change is our friend, if we are agile and smart enough to take advantage of it." So, going on to Agile in a project sense or a project methodology sense, it works on the formula of continuous speculating, exploring, adapting around a shared vision. And eventually that loop has to close. So what's Agile about? It's about making decisions as and when you need to with the best information that you have to hand. It's about rapidly learning, just in time, and not spending years and months learning just in case. Agile as software development or project management term it actually began in software development, but it can be applied to other systems. And there are certain activities that as a team using Agile that you're always going to want to do to ensure that your project stays on track while developing a product through an iterative and incremental process. There are 12 development principles that guide what we know as Agile development or Agile project management, and they were created in February 2001 by 17 very independently minded software practitioners. Again, even between 2001 now, we can see that that's evolving. This last point here about face-to-face conversations is evolving as we speak, with instant messaging and video conferencing becoming easier and easier to use. It makes the challenges of distance, so much less challenging, and it makes it easier for groups that are dispersed across vast distances to be able to work together. So you can look this up by actually searching Agile methodology or manifesto and its principles. But the main thing I want to say about this is that they're guiding principles and not a framework. There are many frameworks that have been introduced to support the Agile process, but everyone will have their own approaches and ideas when it comes to creating an Agile project. The important thing to remember here is that Agile is a process, not a product. The activities inherent in the process ensure that there is a product at the end, but it's up to the collaborators to ensure that what is produced fits the end user's needs. So the manifesto actually states four really clear goals, and Mountain Goat Software put it best when they said, "When looking at Agile process, it's important to understand that Agile is an umbrella term used to describe a general approach to software development. Though there are many Agile incarnations, all methods, including the Scrum Agile process, emphasize teamwork, frequent deliveries of working software, close customer collaboration, and the ability to respond quickly to change." Or as others put it, Agile is more than a development methodology, it's a lifestyle. So the answer to the question, how to eat an Agile sandwich, is pretty standard. If you haven't used something that is specifically Agile, or what people call true Agile, then you may have made something edible in an Agile-like fashion, and that's okay. The truth is, there is no such thing as a specific or true Agile. An individual team or organisation can come up with a way to approach a consistent development of a product, and there are frameworks that have popped up that sustain the structure of the Agile principles, such as Scrum, Extreme Programming, Crystal Method, Lean, Kanban, and there's many, many more. But it's going to come down to the shared understanding of the team involved as to the framework and methodologies that they adopt. So here, I'm just going to talk about, there's 6 points. I'm going to talk about some things that I found easy to integrate into a team's shared understanding around a project. The first one is that idea of iterative and incremental development. This is where we look at the project in phases and define what's important to get ready to ship, or how you make the sandwich. The concept here is that with a good base, you are lacking in quality. Without a good base, you're lacking in quality, and once you skimp on the basics, such as the bread, and in this case it's a platform with a very powerful and open source CMS like Drupal, if you don't have that, it's going to be hard to make your sandwich taste really good. For example, you don't want your lettuce to go soggy or start rotting in your salad, but you can always take it out. But if you get the core of it wrong, it's really hard to bring it back from there. So if you throw out the bread, you can't really call it a sandwich anymore. And someone's going to get upset or disappointed at least, if you give them a salad when they ask for a sandwich. The second thing is MVP. Getting all of your components together and planning out what you're about to do makes the process more streamlined. The minimally or minimum viable product is the version of a product that provides sufficient features to satisfy early adopters. This allows for product feedback to be taken into account for the next release or the next phase of planning. MVP is a lean concept, and it's aimed at maximising value by only putting effort into those features that have been verified as important, rather than just assuming that. A minimum viable product will always ensure that you have a product to go to market with at the end of the process. All decisions along the development cycle should adhere to the MVP, unless something really drastic happens, of course. But the good news is that you're working in Agile, so if you need to, you can look at the MVP, see what you can take out with the new priorities that now have to be included. But ideally, you'd want to do this before you start development. You don't want to throw out a whole week's worth of sandwiches. What you create out of this process should be versatile, and even if you serve it on its own after one iteration, it's a crowd pleaser. But think what you can do if you add some butter to that bread. You might want to toast it. You might want to add some cheese or use that special Christmas ham. Or maybe you want to spread on it your favourite homemade mustard, the one that the customers have been asking for all this time. The third thing is technical debt. So how this occurs and what it is not necessarily a bad thing. This is where we talk about the perceived lack of documentation as well. Agile is quite the opposite of that. There is actually a lot of time spent upfront thinking and testing and proving some of the assumptions that we're making. And all of that comes out of a lot of discussion and investigations into what the required functionality is. And the most important thing here is not to reinvent the wheel every time. If it's been done before or better, use it. When talking about technical debt, it's a good way to describe it is that you don't want to spend a lot of time on a non-crucial element of the project. Or you might have a developer that's spending 2 weeks developing a piece of functionality that is later going to be replaced. It just doesn't make sense, and you're losing about 80 hours of critical time and effort on something you're going to throw away. There's a wide range of reasons why your project might go into technical debt, and through the process of Agile, you should be able to get to a point where you can easily decide as a team what's in and what's out. There are many reasons that this could have happened, and sometimes there are just changes and variables outside control of those directly involved, so it happens. Your customers or users want wholemeal bread, but your supplier has given you an order of white bread. You have to make the decision. Do you make the sandwiches out of the white bread, or do you throw it away and start over with the wholemeal? And obviously there are a range of implications here. The fourth thing is the product owner. The product owner plays a really crucial role in your development. They represent the users and the stakeholders of the product that you're building, so to ensure the right features make it through to the product backlog. They guide the product roadmap, they prioritise what's going to be worked on, and they communicate the needs of the business. As the product owner, you have to be the one in there writing the menu, making sure the customer is happy, dealing with the complaints, overseeing the ordering of supplies, and having input into the products that you are creating by testing them before they go out. So even though you're not the one that's in there making them every day, you still need to know exactly what's being served. The fifth thing is the dev team. Don't forget the dev team. Your developers are the ones who can really influence what's happening. They are making the special sauce and cooking the chicken. So let's say you make a user story and you put chicken and bread as your core components, and that's your acceptance criteria. You give it to your developer, and let's say they give you something like totally by accident, something that you don't actually want. Maybe it's raw chicken. They passed it on to the QA, and they were like, oh, you haven't cooked the chicken. And nobody wants to eat the raw chicken sandwich. But the argument would be that the specification did not clearly state that you wanted it cooked. In fact, you could have had it fried, poached, shredded. This is not just about not pissing off your developers, it's also about knowing your requirements, and it's being really explicit when you're creating a user story, and it takes time to get that right. Number 6, finally, is about your stakeholders and your users. Really, really important. Stakeholders are anyone who are impacted by or interested in the project. It typically includes clients, business owners, maybe your IT department, portfolio managers, executive. Users are the people who are going to be using the product or service. It's important to always remember who this is going to be and who's going to be using your product and why. Creating the product with them in mind, you're going to get greater return on your investment at all times. It's not about the people who are making the ingredients, although they are very important. They are not the ones coming through the doors every day consuming your sandwiches. And everybody wants to eat a good sandwich and feel really happy and satisfied. And there's really a whole other subject here to go into, but I just wanted to touch on that and say it's important to keep your customers happy. So that about sums it up. And this was supposed to be about creating a conversation more than anything. So if there's any questions or comments, please feel free. I know probably everyone's really hungry now. If you want to know more about Acquia products or services or our technical or enablement workshops, come and say hi to one of us. There's a few of us here. Gavin, James, Steve, Chris, and Josh, and I know Andrew are around as well. And that's about it. Also, just want to say really huge thanks to the Drupal community for being so open and accepting of newcomers like myself. It's really, it's really nice to be welcomed into the community, so thank you. Yes?
I have a question. What if you can't decide what kind of sandwich you want?
That's a very good question. I suppose it comes back to what do your users want, and maybe asking them what sort of sandwich they like. And you're not going to be able to please everyone, so it's going to be a long process of working that out with your project team, and developing or discovering what truly that is to be able to flow into your MVP.
So user research or...
User research, definitely.
Any challenges in getting government to adopt Agile?
Yeah. I don't know. Can I open the floor to that question? Of course, there are challenges. It's not government has not traditionally worked in those structures, so it's really hard for the people who are the decision makers to understand that they need to be really highly involved in this process or delegating to the people who can be. So typically, the people who are your web team, or maybe you're in IT, or maybe in your marketing communications traditionally, but it could be anywhere in government, they're the ones who are going to be available and really know the product well and be able to make those decisions quickly. And that's just a really legacy concept of government. So it's just going to take time for that cultural shift to happen. Okay, thank you.